Hey, good morning guys, Tush coming at you. It's Friday, December the 15th, just coming up to 10:45 a.m. And I have to say I enjoyed my day in the garage yesterday. It's great to be back working on the Triumph TR250 project. I'm also enjoying sleeping in the morning now that I'm on vacation. I'm enjoying my hot breakfast, which I normally don't have during the course of the week when I'm at work. I just usually skip breakfast or have something cold. You know what I really like? I really like some pancakes. You know who makes good pancakes? Ellen Yakov makes good pancakes. If you don't believe me, Google Ellen Yakov pancakes and see what you come up with. Alright, so we're going to try to tackle this inner fender area that I'm not happy with, that it's had a lot of work over the years done to it. So I've taken a look at what it costs to actually purchase this inner fender piece, which consists of basically the panel above this vertical piece. So it's basically this panel all the way along, attaches to the inner wheel arch, and it goes down to the front and connects to the front valence. That piece alone per side is $460 US. And that equates to probably about, by the time I get it delivered to me, probably close to $700 Canadian. So we're going to try to repair this section as best as we can. The reason why I was having a look at it is that I was trying to understand how this structure is made up. And it looks to me that when you buy this inner fender stamping, the gutter is actually attached to it already. So it looks to me like I'm going to try to separate this panel and release the gutter from it all the way along the length of the inner fender. So we're going to carefully try to do that in order to make this look a little bit better and replace this piece of metal the entire length from front to back. So that's the objective. It's going to be quite a bit of work, as you can imagine, and hopefully I don't screw it up too badly. But I think that's the best course of action to make this look better. So we're going to get to work trying to split that gutter off that inner fender. Alright, wish me luck. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grind down the top edge of this flange. You can see it's been welded along here, so I'm going to try to grind this down to be able to split this flange a little bit more easily. I do actually have good separation up here already, and I can actually see that, I don't know if you can see this, so that's basically the two panels separated back here. But again, as soon as I get to this location here, that sort of panel separation goes away. So we're going to grind along the top here, all the way along, and see if we can get that seam back. I may regret getting into this by the end of this whole mess, but here's what the previous owner has done. So you can see this weld line here. So what he's basically done is cut this here and just re-welded it. So there is actually no flange where there should be. You can see this line of weld that goes all the way along the bottom, all the way back there where the other weld line is. So what he's done is he's basically removed the flange from the gutter piece from here to there. So this is just one solid piece. There's no actual double layer of metal. So I'm not sure how I'm going to fix that, but anyway, we've got this detached pretty much mostly the way to the front up to this cut. So I think what I'm going to do is cut this here and take this front channel out at least, and cut that at the rear and take that rear channel out. I was going to try to take it out as one whole piece, but I don't think that's going to be possible now based on the fact that this is all welded, you know, solid along the bottom here from this point to that point. So just thought I'd give you a quick update. Can of worms. This car is such a mess. I don't think there's one good area on this car. Anyway, just gotta laugh at it. We've cut this section out here. You can see that the gutter is missing here. So front to this area. And then we've managed to cut this gutter area out back here. I've left a little bit to attach it back to and keep that for reference. But you can see what this looks like now. And it's a mess in there. So yeah, now we got to figure out what we want to do with this center section. It's a pain because I can't really cut it because it's part really of this wheel well lip, and I don't know, I might have to work with what I've got there and do the best I can. Anyway, we're going to think about it a little bit. I've also been thinking about doing some modifications to the car again, and we'll come back and talk about that a little bit. Alright, so it looks like this panel has been replaced here to here. You can see the welding marks. This should actually be a pressed panel here, I believe, which would sort of mimic the pressing here on the inside of the inner fender. So obviously that's not the case, so I believe this whole panel has been replaced on the outside. I can also see that the structure is very weak on the inside. You can see quite a bit of rust in here as well. I can actually oil can it a little bit. I can push on it, and you can see that the structure is very weak inside. Sorry for the camera work, it's a little bit shaky, but it's hard to get in there. Anyways, what I'm thinking of doing, and I've been thinking of doing this for some time, and this car being in such poor condition, or these inner fenders being in such poor condition, is leading me to want to do it even more. I'm thinking of actually doing a vent in the inner fender, which would extend obviously out to the outer fender. I'm going to throw a couple of pictures in here before. This used to be done on Triumph TR4 Works rally cars. So hopefully I'll be able to Google a few images and stick them in the video here so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm thinking of doing that modification. Ellen and I have sort of discussed it. I don't think he's a big fan of them, but maybe I'll win him over if I go ahead and do this. I'm definitely going to have to use his expertise and use him as a bit of a sounding board to figure out a way to do these. There are kits you can buy from places like Restorations in the UK. They are quite pricey. I think they're about £400 a side for the vent kits. But I think what I'd like to try to do is try to make my own. So hopefully that would turn out okay. Now, that's going to entail me cutting my fenders, which I sort of had a little bit of an issue with, but you know, I've done a lot of work on that fender already. I basically rescued this fender from the scrap heap, so I don't have too many qualms about cutting this fender. I do have a little bit more of an issue cutting my brand new fender that I bought from the US, because it's a pretty pristine fender, but I'll have to get over that if I decide to do this modification. Either that, or I try to rescue the other old TR250 fender that I have that needs a lot of restoration work on it. So that's another option. I may actually try to use that fender as opposed to cutting this this good TR4 fender that I have on this side. Anyway, I'm not worried about this side at the moment. I'm more worried about the driver's side. So anyway, I'll stop it there. I'm going to think a little bit more about it. I'm pretty much 80% sure I'm going to do this modification. Again, this fender, inner fender being in such poor condition, it's sort of leading me down that path anyway. It does require, this fender vent actually requires a piece of Herald grill as the insert, and I've actually got a line on a Herald grill that I can use to make the insert. Again, you may be able to pick it out in the photos that I've put onto this video of the Works cars. It's actually a Triumph Herald grill insert that's been cut to fit into the vent. Anyway, we will stop talking and we'll think about this a bit more. I've just had a thought too. Maybe the vent will take away all the attention from this crappy welding that you're going to be able to see at the bottom of this this gutter piece. So anyway, one can always hope. And just for fun, we're going to pop the passenger side front fender off, because I can't remember whether the inner fender has the pressing indent for this thing here on the passenger side. So let's have a look at the passenger side just for fun. Okay, you can see on the passenger side that it actually does have the pressing pressed on the inner fender. So this side looks like it's had a lot less work done to it than the opposite side. So anyway, just thought I'd give you a quick look at that. That's what the driver's side should look like. And obviously we have a flat panel over here, so again, more evidence of work on this side of the car. Alright, we thought about it for about 5 minutes, and something I want to do for me. So again, it might not necessarily be your cup of tea, but I'm going to do it for me because I want them. So we're going to figure out a way to cut this panel out. Obviously we want the vents to reflect the shape of the pressing. So what I'm thinking of doing, I'm thinking of getting a drill out and just drilling holes, pilot holes, around the outside of the pressing so I can visualize them on the outside of here, and then we'll just cut from the outside through. So this is going to be quite the project, and again, I'm not quite sure 100% how I'm going to go about it yet, but we'll figure it out and we'll get it done. Worst comes to worst, I can always weld that stupid thing back in there. Alright guys, so here's what I've done. You can see I've drilled through from the inside all the way around the inner pressing, and then I've just traced a line on the outside. So this is basically the area that I want to cut out. So this will be the vent area, and obviously this will carry through, like I mentioned, to the outside fender. So what I want to do is basically create a tube to come out from inside of the inner fender, and then from the outer fender it's going to be the same cut but flanged inwards to basically lay over the top of the outside flange of this area here. I'm not sure if that makes sense or not, but anyway, that's what will seal it in, is the flange on the outer fender, which will overlap the inner piece of this tube. Got the outer part of this panel cut away. I just wanted to show you how much rust is in here behind this cutaway panel. I'm not sure if you can see that very well, but that is all just full of rust. Anyway, we'll dig it out of there and we'll have a better look at it. Alright guys, just coming up to about 3 o'clock, and just a quick update for you. So we've got that hole cut out now, and I can see what this previous repair, how this previous repair was done. So this plate here that I pulled out of here was made of about 13 gauge metal, so quite thick actually. And so what they've done is, instead of doing the double thickness of metal, they've done a single thickness of metal from about this point here to about this point here, where I've cut the flange on the inside here. So I guess they were trying to fake a double edge here by using a thicker metal. So anyway, we got to figure out what we're going to do with that. But I think the next step for me to do now is to sort of fix this area that's been sort of chewed away. You can see it's rusted here as well, and it's got some rust, pretty bad rust on the inside. So we're getting ready to build this edge back up higher to meet the edge of this corner here. So we're going to do a few repairs before we get to that point, and we'll scab a new piece of metal all the way across the top of this flange. Obviously, where I require two pieces of metal, so here's, for example, this piece here fits in here. We're going to repair this flange and increase the size of this upwards as well to meet this side. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to weld them together. My spot welder is broken at the moment. That would have been perfect for this, but we'll figure out a way to get these welded together. Anyway, that's the plan. Just wanted to show you how much of a mess it is in here. So this is where they've scabbed in that new piece of metal on the outside and just left this crappy old piece on the inside. So I'm trying to fix this crappy old piece on the inside because I can't leave it like that. So it's a pain in the ass area to work in, that's for sure. Trying to be able to get access to cut this out, and it's proving to be a little bit difficult. So anyway, when I want to repair it as best as I can, it's going to be not very stock looking, but at least it won't be rusty. Anyway, that's where we're at. Taking out more rust and rot. Well, if I had a superhero name, I'd like to be called Captain Carnage. Anyway, managed to clean this up quite a bit. You saw the last shot of all that scabby crap in there. So we pulled that out. I went ahead and also pulled this piece out. so I could sort of clean this up on the back and re-weld that. I wasn't going to be happy with the repair as it was, so we went ahead and removed that piece so we can make some repairs here to this flange. Obviously you have to replace this bulkhead piece, or just to the edge where I've drawn the line. We're going to put a new piece of metal in there. So basically there's a triple thickness of metal here. We got a flange on the bottom, this middle piece, and then we've got the flange on top, so those are all sandwiched together. So we'll clean that up, we'll repair this piece, we'll weld that back in, and then we'll get to fixing our flange. If you recall, all of this is because of wanting to make this flange a little bit higher. So I guess I could have taken the easy way out and just gone ahead and just added some metal to the top of that, but that's not my style. So it's definitely looking better in here now. Still needs quite a bit of work, but it's definitely not as scabby and rusty as it was. So I'm happy about that. Anyway, we'll continue on, but I just wanted to give you a quick update as to where I'm at. I think the next thing we'll do is we'll cut this piece out and we'll fashion a new piece to go in here. We'll clean up this flange once I reveal it from under this piece of metal that we're just about to cut out. This flange looks like it's going to be okay. We'll probably just fix those holes that I drilled up for the spot welds, and then we'll get ready to weld that all back together again. Alright guys, that's where I'm at. Alright guys, we're just about to start our flange repairs, and you can see I've cleaned up this area here. So we're going to do this flange first. We're going to close up those drill holes. I'm just going to use a copper backing plate to fill those and then grind them flush. And we're going to put a couple of more pieces here in the flange to repair it. And then we'll overlay that top piece and complete that repair. So I'm going to start with that flange. Alright guys, we've got our template made and we've got our flange zinc primed. So we're going to transfer this to metal. We'll drill out the areas for the plug welds, and we'll weld it in. Alright guys, we've got that shelf all welded in, and we're just about to grind it down. I just thought I'd give you a quick look at that. So it's all plug welded along that flange, and we've got it nicely welded here, so we'll clean that up as best as we can, because obviously this is going to be visible to some degree anyway. I'm going to have a wiper motor and stuff here, so you won't be able to really see too much back in this corner, but anyway, we'll clean it up as best as we can, and then we'll proceed to the next thing on the agenda. Alright guys, that area is looking pretty good after it's being ground down. I'm happy with that. So the next part of this repair is to bring this piece back, and as you can see I need to do some work on the bottom flange, and obviously I need to repair this big piece that's missing in the middle. That fits back in something like that, as you recall. So I think what we're going to do is we'll start tackling this tomorrow morning bright and early. The battery is almost dead in the camera, so and I'm almost dead. I haven't had dinner yet, so 8 o'clock I think it's time to go in, and maybe we'll upload this so you can see where we're at, and we'll get back on it tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching. Good night.